Hey there, welcome to our Parent Educator Passport Program, workshop number 5, woo, for your parent support. Right now, we're gonna start jumping in to learn how you can supercharge your student engagement with just a few of these teaching strategies that actually work, and they're brain-based. Whenever I'm doing these trainings, I always like to make sure that they are brain-based. That's why they're effective in helping your students. So am I teaching you all the strategies there possibly are? No, there's no time for that, especially in a mini workshop and a condensed webinar, right? But I am going to go through some of my very top favorite ones for you. And hopefully you can add these to your repertoire. Okay. So as always, make sure you've got your notebook going for all your parent educator learning and fill out that table of contents so you can find the information easy. Make sure you're always applying the information. So right now, I want you to describe your students' comprehension and retention, okay? Think about your students and how is that going for them right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, you know, are they like, what did we just learn? Or are they more like a 10, you know, I get it, I got it, now let's go learn more about it, you know? Where are they? You know, where are they on that spectrum of learning? Are they a 1 or a 10, or where are they in the middle? So think about that and just write it down in your notebook. You don't need to share this out, just put it out. And oh, you gotta love that I have the now let's go. I must have been really excited when I did this slide. Okay. So now that you have thought about that, you've got that in the back of your mind. I've done that on purpose. I have fed you a question. So in the back of your mind, you're being mindful of where their comprehension and retention is, because that's so imperative for learning, right? We want to make sure. And part of that starts off with focusing. We want to make sure that you supercharge your student engagement to help them focus on the learning. So I keep showing you through the workshops that on the left-hand side of the page, we use all different kinds of strategies, teaching strategies, to apply the learning, so to output what they're inputting, okay? And one fun way to do that, if you've noticed on every single one of my workshops, I start off with that table of contents page and it shows you some clock, we call those clock questions on the left-hand side. And here, you could take a quick photo of this screen if you'd like to help remind yourself. Some of the clock questions, and the ones I've been showing you are just a sample off from, like, for example, science class, okay? And so some of those questions are like, write a science fiction story, paraphrase into 2 sentences, create and solve 3 original problems, so forth and whatnot, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got 12 of them. That's why they call them clock questions, because you could say, okay, pick between your 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 3 o'clock. You choose one and do that on the left-hand side of the page to apply your learning or whatnot, okay? So when you're going through this, take a moment, pause me right now to read through this list. And these should all make a lot of sense. Venn diagram, that's when you have those 2 intersecting circles that compare and contrast. And we did that in the last workshop when we discussed left, right brain. What ifs, statements, those are when you write out, well, what if, blah, 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 blah. You know, what if volcanoes didn't erupt? What does that mean? Or, you know, I don't know. Just different what if questions they could come up with. And I'm just looking through to see if there's anything else that might not make sense. But I think that they all do. Okay. So take a moment, pause me, read through this, and then let's talk about applying it. Okay, you're back. So you read through the list. Hopefully you took a photo of it or you just jotted it all down. That's great. So now we're going to do, even though this is not a clock question strategy, we're going to do a 3-2-1 strategy. I think we've done this before. So we start off with list 3 engaging strategies you have already used. Okay, maybe it's been with your students already, or perhaps you have used it yourself in your own learning. So sorry, we're having a glitch and so forth right there. So sorry about that. Anyway, So you list out 3 engaging strategies you have used. Then next, I want you to list 2 strategies you would like to try off from this list. So go ahead and do that. And then after you've done that on those 2 strategies, circle one of those strategies that you would like to try in your next lesson, or next week, or your first week of lessons. Okay, so go ahead and pause me and do that, fill that out, and then when you come back, we will move forward. Okay, you're back. Let's go ahead and move forward. Now, here's the interesting thing about the clock questions. They don't always apply to the lessons you're learning or the content area. So for example, I gave you some that were very much science oriented, right? Well, that doesn't always work for other content areas like social studies or math or language arts. So here are some other questions that you could swap in for your clock questions. And these are just really great go-tos that help you get that content applying right away so that they're doing something with it. That's how you cement the learning, and that's how they can retrieve it later. So you get the comprehension going, and then they're retaining the information. So that's really important. So you could swap with some of these. So take a look at these. You can even take a photo or just pause me and write these down, okay? One is write the lyrics for a song about this topic, or 2, create a bookmark for the topic, write a haiku poem, create vocabulary cards for 5 most essential terms, create an analogy and an illustration, create a graph, create a concept map. Okay, so those are just some more. You may think of even more that you might want to throw into your repertoire of clock questions. Okay, so go ahead, take some time to write those down and come back to me. And when you do, we will move forward. Okay, we're back. All right, normally we would cascade chat this out, but if you have a strategy that you're planning to use in your next lesson, go ahead and add it to the video comments below. That'll be fun. All right, we're moving forward. All right, so what are some other tried and true techniques? That might be your question now. Okay, those were great and all, but what else? What else can I do? Because there's so many more, all right? And what I'm going to do here is I want you to take some of these and doodle them out, illustrate them out on the left-hand side as we go through some of these. So some other strategies are brainstorming sessions where you can sit there and just brainstorm out about a lot of different ideas about a particular topic. You could also draw out concepts, concept maps. So, and I have a little illustration of that up above. So you do the reading, you start brainstorming about it, and then you do the writing, right? That's concept mapping, how to write about something you just learned about, okay? Riddles, illustrations, poetry, songs, write these down. So these are great reminders. Most of these will make sense. Metaphors and analogies, if you're not sure what that is, metaphors and analogies are a great way for students to really think about the concept, because you're comparing 2 different things for a metaphor. Like this one, if you see the illustration I have on the side, Allie is a walking dictionary because she has a very large vocabulary, right? Or time is money, that sort of thing. So you're comparing one thing to another, all right? Venn diagrams, those are the circles, intersecting circles that you have the differences and the similarities in the middle. Writing, all kinds of writing, analysis writing, reflection writing, quick writes. Students really like quick writes and they can always add to it later. Writing prompts are very helpful. 4 square thinking is a really good one too. And remember, all of these can be used on the left-hand side of the notes. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see an example of 4 square thinking. So you've got your definition, characteristic, example, and non-examples for a tree, for example. That's a way you can do something on a vocabulary term, okay? Mnemonics are great. Flowcharts, graphic organizers. So these are all really great techniques that you can be including throughout your lessons every single day. Are you going to use all of these every day? No, but you will pick and choose some of these to use throughout the day, every day, so that helps engage your students and helps them to actually do something with the learning so that they remember it. That's really important. And it gives them that downtime to process what they've been learning as they're applying it. So that's where we not only activate the prefrontal cortex, but then we activate the hippocampus and transfer the information into the hippocampus to be stored for later usage. That's why it's so important. Okay, so normally I would have you list out 3 of these that you're going to use in your next lessons of the week, but instead, go ahead and write that down in your notes. Okay, write that down in your notes to remember that there are 3 more that you've now decided that you also want to use in your next week of lessons. All right. Now, I told you I was going to share some of my all-time favorites, okay? I have this really great list of different kinds of techniques. I told you that those were not limited to just what I've already shown you so far. There's so many more ideas, so feel free, take a photo of this or use the link that has been provided for you to go and download that page. But you know, no matter what, you could actually just go ahead and take a photo if you want. And I'm going to go ahead and show you some more engaging techniques utilizing mostly, not all, but mostly project-based learning, because that is a really great way to cement learning. So one of my favorites is the cereal box cover. So when they're learning about a particular unit or whatnot, they can start going through and designing a cereal box on different aspects of the unit and what they were learning. They could write different articles, they can design, they could do important vocabulary or whatnot. So there's all different kinds of ways you can use cereal box covers to design, for your students to design to demonstrate their learning of a concept. Another one that is really fun is designing a board game. And it actually takes a lot of thought because they have to backwards plan for the outcomes. And it's one to have them revisit regularly during a unit in particular, because then they can keep going back and adding and revising their game. They might even want to, I highly recommend they start off with a rough draft of it so they can erase and change and all that kind of stuff. But designing a board game that would be complete when you finish the unit. So that's a really great one. There's bumper stickers. These are great ones to finish even just like for a chapter. If you're going through like a chapter, just a small learning engagement technique. And they could do this. They can just cut out a piece of printer paper and make a bumper sticker, and then they design it and everything. And what's happening is they're using what they've just learned. They're thinking about it as they're designing the bumper sticker, and they're demonstrating their learning that way. Character sketches are a really great way for your students to get into the mind, if you will, of the character they're learning about, maybe in some kind of literature book that you're all reading or whatnot. You can also go online, so they can do it themselves. See, they can draw it and label and all that kind of stuff. I have a few different examples there. But then you can also go online and find different work pages where you can really have your students discuss the different traits and all that kind of stuff and give more background to their character as they're learning about it. And then they can draw their character, like the one I have on the right. I threw that over there just to show you. Okay. So character sketches are a really great way for them to really get into the mind of the character. It helps them stay engaged with the literature. Cartoon stripping is amazing and so much fun for so many students. And you can do it as simple as this one right here on the left at the bottom. Just draw out the rectangle and put 6 boxes, and there you go. They've got it. They can cartoon out, and they can do like beginning, middle, end, or whatever the case may be. They can really just go to town on illustrating their cartoon strip to demonstrate the learning of concepts. That's a really, really fun one. It's a great one also for, well, it's great for all ages, but younger students like it for when they're trying to learn how to retell a story or doing sequencing. So it's a really great teaching strategy for that. Collaging, or scrapbook paging, if you will, is another really mindful activity to help conceptualize learning. And students can go through old magazines or whatever and tear out the photos to make their collage, or they might be able to, with supervision, of course, go online and find the photos that they want to use and do a digital creation. So there's different ways to do that. But this is like, for example, this is one showing the year in the life of a tree. So we're talking spring, summer, fall, winter. That demonstrates that whole life cycle, right? And it doesn't have to be about a tree. It could be about tons and tons and tons of different things that you can do a collage and have them pull illustrations that help them explain their thought process on what they understand. Haikus are really fun, and they're actually mathematical, and because you have to adhere to the ratio, the haiku ratio, it makes students think even more about it, and it builds all these extra neurological pathways to cement learning, especially when they've come up with the haiku poem that they've written that matches the ratio and they illustrate it. So that's just so many different ways to embed the learning right there. It's a great strategy. KWL charts. Well, this one's not project-based. This is one that you can use in almost every single lesson. And KWL stands for what I know about the topic, what I want to know about the topic, and what I've learned about the topic. So what we do is with the KWL chart, we start with the know, with the K, before we start to teach. So this one on the top, it was about dolphins. So the students went through under the K and they wrote down everything they knew already about dolphins. Then the next one was the W. Then they were asked, okay, well, what do you still want to know about dolphins? So they made a list. And then they didn't fill out the L part. So then they launched into the lesson about dolphins. And when they were finished with the lesson on dolphins, they came back and filled out the L chart, what they had learned about dolphins. So it's a really great strategy to use, and it helps to keep them engaged both pre, during, and post. Okay. Menus are really fun. There's several different ways you can do them and use them, all different kinds of ways to use restaurant menus. So feel free to encourage your students to be as creative as they want to be, or you can dial it up or down the way you want it to be to match the lesson that you're trying to apply this for. You could do this as simple as just explaining the important details of some literature that they're covering. So like the hamburger one on the apply it under illustrated, they did the title, author, the genre, what's the setting, the main character, the plot, the conclusion, their favorite part, that sort of thing. So it could be as simple as that. Or it can be like, wow, this person really went to town making that whole pizza with different aspects of the secret tree. And then over here on the right, there's another one. This was done on a book report. So these are all really book reports, but you can use it for other things too. But it does make it a lot more engaging and very creative for them to come up with the different aspects of the menu or the food or just explaining the different parts of the literature. Okay, and last one, my most favorite ones, I always love doing this with my students, was having them create, yes, I know it's old fashioned now, but a newspaper front page. And it was really great because it really had them processing what they had learned. And they really had to think about different aspects of it, different angles of the concept, coming up with different articles. And it was also good for math skills too, because I would give them the parameters and they would have to design the front page first with their columns and their heads and all that for the actual front page. And then they started to insert their articles and all that. It was really great. And everybody's was always a little bit different than each other's. And it was really fun, really a fun project-based learning activity for them to do. Great lesson, and really cemented the learning. All right. Do you have an engaging technique to share? If you do, please share it in the video comments below. We want to know. All right. Take a moment, pause me, summarize, do a quick write of the key points you've learned in this presentation. And when you're finished, please go back to the feedback form. This is the link right there if you need to take a photo of it, if you've lost it. And make sure you go there. And your code word for this presentation is Ecuador. Ecuador. All right, that's what you need. Remember, you need to get mini workshop 4, 5, and 6 to get your stamp for today. All right, thanks so much, everybody. We will see you at workshop 6 next. Take care.